Empathy is supposed to make people kinder. That's the assumption almost every culture is built on. Understand the belief before you judge the believer. Empathy is supposed to make people kinder. That's the assumption almost every culture is built on. In 2021, a team of researchers proved that assumption wrong, and the personality they discovered isn't a villain. It's something stranger and far more revealing about how humans actually work. 3 questions in the next 8 minutes. What is the dark empath in the actual clinical sense, not the internet caricature? Why does this personality even exist? What psychological mechanism produces someone who feels deeply and acts coldly? And what does its existence tell us about empathy itself, including our own? No villains here, just the why. For most of modern psychology, empathy and the dark triad, narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy, were considered opposites. If you could feel what someone else felt, you couldn't fully use them. The 2 traits canceled each other out. That belief held until a study from Nottingham Trent University tested it directly. The researchers expected a clean inverse pattern. The darker the personality, the lower the empathy. Instead, when they ran the data, a 4th cluster appeared on the map, people scoring high on dark traits and high on emotional understanding. Roughly 19% of the sample, not rare, not marginal. They named the profile the dark empath. And the finding shifted something fundamental. Empathy is not, by itself, a moral safeguard. It's a capacity. What someone does with it is a separate variable entirely. That distinction, capacity versus use, is the entire foundation of what comes next. Hold on to it. 2 empathies, not 1. Here's where the picture sharpens. Psychology doesn't actually treat empathy as one thing. It splits into 2. The first is cognitive empathy, the ability to accurately understand what someone else is feeling, reading the room, mapping the emotion. It's a skill, like pattern recognition. The second is affective empathy, the ability to actually feel that emotion alongside the person. The chest tightens when theirs does. The grief lands. In most people, these 2 move together. In dark empaths, they don't. The cognitive side is elevated. The affective side is quiet. Understanding without absorption, not malice. Architecture. Take the case of Sarah, a high-performing manager. She reads her team's exhaustion like a map. The cognitive empathy is precise, but she doesn't feel their burnout. She uses that clarity to push the deadline, not to offer rest. This is the split in action. Her team feels seen, but not cared for. Understanding as a tool for navigation, not connection. Point 3, where this profile comes from. No one is born a dark empath. So the question becomes, what kind of environment shapes this configuration? Developmental research points in a consistent direction. High cognitive empathy often emerges in environments where reading people was necessary, homes with unpredictable caregivers, volatile climates, situations where misreading someone had real consequences. But feeling everything is too costly when the people around you are the threat. So the system adapts. It keeps the reading ability and dampens the emotional resonance. The child becomes a careful observer because observation is safety. Think about that for a moment. The dark empath isn't a person who chose to weaponize empathy. They're often a person who learned very young that fully feeling other people wasn't safe, but understanding them was essential. The trait isn't a strategy, it's a residue. Point 4, the worldview underneath. Every personality profile sits on top of a model of how the world works. The dark empath's model is specific, and it's the 3rd layer most people miss. Relationships are about navigation. Other people are knowable, predictable, manageable, if you pay attention. Vulnerability is information, not connection. Closeness is a position, not a state. This isn't articulated consciously. It's the operating system underneath. Consider the high-stakes negotiator. They aren't cold because they lack empathy. They're effective because they have it but can uncouple it from their own emotional response. They understand exactly where your pain points are, and they use that data to navigate the deal. For them, intimacy is clarity. They're not faking care. They're using a definition of care built somewhere very different from yours. A relationship is a map to be read, not a feeling to be shared. Point 5. What this tells us about empathy itself. Here's the part that gets least attention and matters most. The dark empath exists on a spectrum. Every human being uses cognitive empathy without affective empathy sometimes. The salesperson reading a customer, the manager calibrating a difficult conversation, the friend who knows exactly what to say but is, in that moment, also tired. The study didn't reveal a separate species. It revealed a configuration in all of us. If empathy can be uncoupled from compassion, then compassion is the variable that matters. Empathy is the engine. Compassion is the steering. The discovery wasn't really about a personality type. It was about a mirror. What is empathy actually for? The useful question isn't who the dark empaths are. It's how often each of us understands another person clearly and chooses, in that moment, what to do with that understanding. It asks what we do with our own clarity. The dark empath is interesting because they expose something the rest of us prefer not to see, that understanding people and caring for them are two different abilities, and one does not produce the other. One is a skill, the other is a choice. If this changed how you think about a person in your life, it's worth asking the harder version of the question. How often do you read someone accurately and choose not to act on what you saw? How often is your empathy an engine without a driver? Consider the high-stakes salesperson. They know exactly when a customer is hesitant, not because they care about the customer's financial stress, but because that hesitation is a data point. They use their cognitive empathy to close the gap, navigating the sale with the precision of an expert. In a volatile home, a child doesn't just watch, they calibrate. They learn to hear the specific pitch of a floorboard or the subtle shift in a parent's breathing. This hyper-attunement is cognitive empathy pushed to its limit, a survival tool that remains long after the threat is gone. The choice of compassion is what separates the engine from the driver. One might understand a friend's grief perfectly, but choose to offer a solution instead of presence. The dark empath reminds us that understanding is only the beginning. What we do next defines us. If you want to go further into how people develop strategies like this without choosing them consciously, the next video on this channel breaks down exactly that. I'll see you there. Understand the belief before you judge the believer.